Welcome. This is Mitch Stephen, and today's episode is how to upscale your business and the downside of upscaling. So stay tuned. We're going to do a little interview with Mike Cowper. And we're going to talk about upscaling, but we're also going to talk about some of the pitfalls you can end up in when you start to upscale either before you're ready or too aggressively. So it's a very good interview, and I thought it was good enough that we whittled it down to the really meaty, beefy parts. And I'm going to give you an exclusive look at this interview, and with all the fluff moved out, you'll get a strong 10 minutes of this interview, and it's worth every minute. So check it out. This is me interviewing Mike Cowper, and you're going to find it very valuable, especially if you got an eye towards upscaling. So we're going to talk about scaling. Everybody wants to scale. Everyone's talking about scaling. There's a downside to scaling. There's a problem with scaling. You can get yourself in trouble scaling. Ask me how I know. Ask Mike how he knows. I mean, you got to be kind of careful with this because it's not just 1, 2, 3, you're going to scale. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it. And if you don't have your collective crap together, you could be trying to scale something that has a missing part and it just won't scale. And then you're wasting all your effort, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the way I look at it is you have to have a strong foundation and a core competency that you're really good at before you can really scale well. Because like you'd said, I've done the fast scaling. I've grown to a huge team, been in multiple markets. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I found that it was incredibly stressful. We weren't really making any more money in terms of net. Like, yeah, the gross number kept growing, and the gross is cute to show and say and talk about. But what I get to keep is what I care about. And I think a lot of people fall in the trap of trying to do start at the finish line, right? You got to start at the start. You got to take it step by step by step and build out a strong foundation in place. And you and I were kind of talking about this before this got started. And I really liked what you talked about, how you scaled your business one desk at a time.
Well, because I was too afraid and I was too scared. So give a little background on yourself. I skipped that part, but I want to make sure people know who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah, no problem. So Mike Cowper, I'm out of Metro Detroit, Michigan. We invest in 3 counties here, and we don't really do anything in the city. I bought my first rental property in November of 2014. That's really what my passion was, or at least what I thought I wanted it to be, to build up passive income. Well, in the route of doing that, I ended up meeting my partner, who was a converted flipper into wholesaler. And my corporate background was always in sales. So I was always at the top of the leaderboards. I got sent to Hawaii about a month or 2 before I quit to go do this full time, and really got into wholesaling. And I think wholesaling is a great entry point for a lot of people. And I think it's a great model. But what I've found is that it's one of those things that you always have to stay active in, unless you can truly build a scaled up team and a lot of people to replace yourself. But even then, if you're not big enough where you have redundancies, you have to jump back in at some point or another. So say you have a CEO or COO in your team and they're supposed to be handling for you, but then they quit or they don't work out. Well, you're right back in there, and sometimes more stressful than you think it might be beforehand, because at least you had your hand on the wheel prior to leaving, and with the jump back in, then you have to try and remember everything and get caught up on everything and go into it. So really, we have been wholesaling for about 5 years. And I was, sitting around one day realizing that I was just really stressed out. I was always running around, feeling like I had to work from 4 in the morning till 8 at night, which at times makes total sense. You got to do the work sometimes. But I was doing this for like months, years, and I was just starting to get burnt out. And then one day I was talking with my my friend Don Costa and my partner at the Inner Circle lead over there at Flip Talk. But really, I was talking to him one day and I realized I forgot to buy a rental last year. I was so busy trying to stay in my active business, I forgot to start buying the passive income. And that's really where I kind of had that epiphany moment is, really all of us, I don't think anyone gets in this business to start saying, hey, I love working all the time. I'm not here for financial freedom. I'm here to just be a deal junkie, which all of us are, right? Because it's really exciting. But we typically want to get into this so we can have our financial and our time freedom. And I think a lot of people get lost in trying to scale to that rather than doing the tried and true method, picking up money that comes in every month, whether you're doing anything or not. And that's really where I have been focused on this past year and a half is raising my baseline, like keep increasing that passive income monthly, quarterly, annually. So when you do have the ups and downs of the market, like COVID hitting right now, you can sustain those things. And that's really where I've become more focused on, is because if I have that passive income coming in every month, I can take bigger risks. I can then go try to scale. And as you were talking about, if you hire that wrong person, you make a mistake, you still got that big check coming every single month. You've got that money coming whether you do well or not. And it allows you to maybe grow your business or take different chances or go into different opportunities.
I hope you're enjoying my interview with Mike Cowper and what we're discussing as far as upscaling goes. But let's take just a little break here for a second. Please set your eyes on that like button and that share button. Go ahead and press those buttons for me. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Now, back to my interview with Mike Cowper on upscaling and the downside of upscaling. What really happened to me when I tried to scale 5 times and failed miserably. The problem was I never gave myself permission not to do 100 houses a year. So I was trying to work on my business while I was working in my business doing 100 houses a year, more or less. And there wasn't enough of me left over to pay any real attention to grow, to scale in the business. And when I mean scaling, I was just trying to automate and get myself out. I wasn't trying to do more. I was just trying to scale in the sense of it's all going to get done without me, you know, which to me is a form of scaling. So the year that I got it done, I was going to quit, and I just couldn't force myself to give up $1 million plus a year net profit. I just kept going, I'm going to walk away from this, really, because I had my storages. I had my passive income. I never had to work another day in my life with the storages that I have. I have 1,300 people owe me $100 every month. Okay. And so I was tired, burnt out like you. And I was going to put it in a box, but I just thought to myself, what a shame to walk away from that business. So why don't I just pay like half of what I make to some really top key people, and I'll give up 500,000 a year of my $1 million plus, and at least get to keep 500,000 or 600,000, right? And not walk away from the whole thing. Well, what happened was that year, since I was going to quit, I didn't care if I did 100 houses. I didn't care if I did 1. I only did 33 houses that year that I fixed the business. I only did 33 houses. Those houses walked in the office and gave themselves up. I mean, they just surrendered. I didn't even go after them. I would have done 0 houses. I didn't care about houses anymore. I was trying to fix the system. It took me about 14 months, but when it finally got done and it was all running without me, and I knew that it was running without me when I left town for a month, and it came back and it, you know, it had bought and sold 8 houses. You know, I thought, you know, it bought 8 houses, but it sold eight on the other end, not the same 8 houses, but it sold 8 houses, got sold while 8 houses were coming in. I thought, it's working. What was the difference this time? The difference was I focused just on fixing my business. And I took my time, and it was no pressure. I had all this cash flow coming in every month. I was going to get paid whether the business got fixed or whether that business got fixed or not. And all the pressure was off, and I could take time to fix every seat in the office and find the right person. And I did it one chair at a time.
That's awesome. And that's a great message. And that's what I'm going through and learning right now, because a lot of us get caught up in competing with others, or trying to chase other people's dreams, or trying to, you know, fulfill someone else's goals and agenda. And I think if you take the time to sit down and look at what is it I want to get, and I know everyone says it's begin with the end in mind, but we get busy along the way, and we start to fill up our day, and we start chasing things, and we want to go bigger, bigger, faster, faster. And that's probably where I've made most of my mistakes, trying to do things too much, too quickly, have things, you know, it's like the jack of all trades, master of none, old analogy. I would try to do all these things all at once, and none of them got done very well.
So, I love that. My biggest year, my 3rd year in business, I did 150 houses. I made more money the year that I only did 65, because as fast as money was coming in the front door, my contractors and everybody were ripping me off out the back door. And I did all this volume. It didn't make any more money than at 65. Ron LeGrand was the first one to call me stupid and say, you know, you did doing 150 houses a year with the amount of staff you have is completely stupid. He says, why don't you try doing half as many houses and making twice as much money and have a life? The way he put it to me didn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. But when I went back and thought about what he said, I thought, I think he's right, as much as I hate to admit it. And he was right.
So I went back and I started not worrying about my volume. I started worrying about my gross or my ROI per transaction.
Today, I am going to offer you access to the Art of Creative Real Estate Investing webinar. This webinar talks all about how I used other people's money, none of my own money, but a lot of other people's money, and I parlayed this into a very lucrative career using seller financing as my strategy. So please go to 1000houses.com/free-stuff or click on this link right here below, and I'll get you a copy of that webinar. It's digitally downloadable. You'll have it in a flash, and you will be all the smarter within a few minutes because I'm going to show you some things that took me years to learn.